time, when you put more than one product in a household, you kind of change yourself from being an insurance agent to being their insurance agent. And that's incredibly powerful.
What's up, YouTube? My name is Kenny J, the insurance guru, and this is Kenny J TV. Guys, welcome to another episode of Kenny J TV. If this is your first time, feel free to browse around and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe and hit that bell for my latest notification. And if you are a first-time viewer, welcome to Kenny J TV. Today we have Richard with us. He is the director of sales development for the organization that I'm with, and he has helped me a lot in my business. He's helped me grow and honestly helped me get my business to six figures. So I wanted to have him on the channel to provide value to you guys. So how you doing today, Richard?
Thanks, Kenny. I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, of course. So can we just start by telling them a little bit about yourself and then your role as the director of sales development, specifically working with like independent agents?
Okay, yeah. Well, I got into the business. I've been in the insurance market for about, I guess this is actually my 16th year now. So I actually started as an agent, worked as a field agent for a little over 4 years. And then kind of a change of scenery led me to look for a different opportunity. I was actually approached about joining an FMO kind of on the independent agency side. So I started that in 2012 and have been kind of in that independent, agency role since then. So,
I got you.
yeah,
Okay.
and then, as director of sales, though, I mean, kind of wear multiple hats. One of the big things I do is kind of serve as an agent advisor. So I have a group of agents and agencies that I work with, and responsible for recruiting new agents and agencies, but just helping agents with their sales and marketing strategies, basically just serving as their back office or support staff. So we help agents with everything from, getting contracted with the carriers, setting marketing strategies, marketing programs, writing business, making sure, of course, the business is placed in a timely fashion and that it's getting issued and through underwriting, and ultimately that the agent's getting paid like they're supposed to, and also in a timely fashion.
No, I love it. And then is this like a popular position in the insurance industry? Because you're the first person that I met of your kind or like in this role.
Um, well, I would say that um, there's multiple kind of iterations of it. So, of course, on the agency side, we're going to have that kind of agent advisor, marketing director, sales director, different places kind of call it different things. But then, on the carrier side, though, you do have a very similar function in carrier reps. So, a lot of the carriers are going to have local or regional reps that they're also working directly with the agents, kind of in a little different capacity than what I do. Of course, they're working only on that one carrier, obviously, whereas obviously, we're helping agents with multiple different carriers, multiple different product lines. I would say it's not an extremely popular profession. I would say the vast majority of folks certainly are agents. And so, there's a draw to it. What drew me to this side of the business was, for one, a little bit more stability in income, to be honest. Like I said, I was kind of in a transition period where I'd kind of built a little book of business, but I was leaving that area. And all of those clients were, going to be a long way away from me. And I just didn't feel like I was going to be able to continue to service. Now, this was, of course, too, before we had all the technology we do now. So things are a little different. Would have been a little easier now to have continued in that role and continued to service those clients. But I saw an opportunity to still be able to help folks, which is kind of what drew me to the business to begin with. Still be able to make a good living while doing so, and have a little stability, a little more stability that my family was certainly happy about. So.
No, absolutely. No, I love it. And then what strategies do you use to help independent agents grow their business and succeed in such like a competitive insurance market?
Yeah, well, a few things I think the most important there. I mean, the biggest driver to growing your business, I think, is learning how to be a referable agent.
Mm.
The more agents can kind of refine their technique for obtaining referrals from current clients, the faster they're going to grow their business. I mean, we say all the time, there's no lead in any sales business better than a referral. So being a referable agent, of course, that means different things to different folks, but I think ultimately it boils down to just how you conduct yourself, doing what you say you're going to do for your clients when you say you're going to do it, not over promising. I see far too many people do that, and it's like we're selling a life insurance case on a preferred base when we don't really have any idea they're going to actually qualify for that, right? That's not a great way to start a relationship. And I think it's going to make you less referable in that client's eyes. So I think that's a big thing, not over promising something, making sure we're kind of doing our due diligence on the front end. And making sure that clients are comfortable with your process of being referred. Some folks are kind of weary to refer an agent to a friend or a family member because they're afraid they're sicking a bulldog on them, right? You've probably heard or seen that before, and so again, you don't want to be too aggressive or pushy during that process with that client. And, too, you don't want to just walk away on the first no, of course. So I'm not saying that, hey, client says no, hey, have a great day, here's my card. We still want to kind of push for those sales, but we want to strike a balance kind of in between asking for business, but not being too aggressive about working through a no. And I think that sets you up in the future. Clients are going to take note of how you do business and how you approach that whole sales process. And they're going to think when you ask for that referral, is that something I want my friend or my, church family member going through, and so I think that's a big thing that's going to drive success for folks. There's a lot of resources out there. Bill Cates is a great resource, one that I've kind of followed throughout my career as a referral guru, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that agents new to the business study Bill Cates and study some of his teaching, some of his material, because I think, even if you only pick up one thing from him, that might be something that gets you, an extra 20 or 25 clients a year and can make a big difference overall in your business. I think also, though, growing your business, I mean, you've got to have competitive products and carriers, and you've got to know your product too. And when I say know your product, I don't mean every little nuanced detail of a product. It's far more important to know how that product's going to solve a need or benefit a client. I mean, I talk a lot about the difference between features and benefits of a product. You can talk to a client all day about features of a product. And regardless of how great we may think those features are, if there's not a clearly defined benefit to the client, they're not going to have a lot of interest in it. I mean, it can be the greatest product out there, but if they don't see how that's going to make their life or their family's life better, they're not going to be interested in it. And so, too, I mean, the insurance market is one that can feel fairly saturated, I feel like. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. I think anything that we can do to set ourselves aside from the competition in the market also is going to, pay dividends in growing our business. So adding a personal touch, treating clients like family, not another line item on a call center balance sheet. There's a lot of these call centers out there, and we know in the business kind of how they treat clients. It's very transactional. As soon as they hang up the phone, they're moving on to the next client. They're not building that relationship. Two, we talk a lot about it, and I'm sure a lot of agents that have been in the business are familiar with kind of the cross-sell statistics. And cross-selling obviously is very important for growing your business because now you're kind of maximizing your return on investment if you're buying leads. However, you're generating clients. Obviously, we we want to do as much work for that client, benefit them as much as possible. Cross-selling is a big part of that. But your retention levels just go through the roof when you start cross-selling. And I say all the time, when you put more than one product in a household, you kind of change yourself from being an insurance agent to being their insurance agent. And that's incredibly powerful. Folks are far less likely to leave you just if you have multiple products in the house. So I think cross-selling is a big thing. I think that's something a lot of agents want to do better. I think a lot of agents have some fear around cross-selling, like, hey, I don't want to mess up the sale I've already got pushing for this other one. But ultimately, I think that is something that will pay dividends in building your business. And again, we're not only maximizing kind of that return of investment of however we generated that lead or that prospect. But then we're also increasing our retention, we're increasing our referability. So, it's kind of a full suite of helping your business there. But
No, I love it. And you made a really good point when you said you need to know like your products. So I know personally, but definitely want you to share just with the audience, how do you provide ongoing support for independent agents that you work with?
yeah, so we actually do that. I mean, a couple of different ways. I mean, communication obviously is one of the biggest ones, and I hear a lot from other agents that have been with other agencies. I don't get calls from my upline. I call them, they don't call me back. If they do, it's 5 days later, and that's something that our agency has always really prided ourselves on is promptly returning phone calls, trying to be available to begin with. But when we're not, returning phone calls within one business day, returning emails in a prompt manner. I mean, we do a lot of communication to our agents as far as just, trying to keep folks kind of abreast of changes in the market. But another thing that we do is a kind of a single point of contact. And we feel like that's really important for a couple reasons. I mean, I'd like to say the biggest one is simplicity. I work, and I'm sure a lot of us do, work with these really large carriers, and they're great companies. They do a great job, but they're very compartmentalized, and they've got their different kind of departments, and they all kind of work. It feels like independently of one another. And so that's something that when you're reaching out to a carrier, of course, a lot of them have their phone trees now that you're just going to call, press one for this and two for that. But you kind of got that thought of, okay, who do I call for this problem? Who do I call for that problem? And so that simplicity mindset for us was just no matter what the issue is, you call the same person. And that's going to be their agent advisor within our agency. And that helps not only that simplicity, it helps kind of build that relationship, but there's also kind of a continuity aspect to that. And that's something I feel like a lot of times that you don't get from some of these bigger carriers, maybe even some of the larger agencies out there, is that when you're always reaching out to somebody else with each different issue, they're never really aware of what's going on in that other department. And so it just kind of helps our advisors kind of keep a pulse on the business, what's going on. If an agent's trying to get contracted because they've got a new piece of business to write and there's kind of a deadline for that, it's just better if everybody's on the same page. And so we've always kind of done that. I mean, again, as advisors, we're helping with, again, the pre-sale stuff. I mean, risk assessments. It's not uncommon that I'll have agents reach out and, hey, I've got this client. This is kind of what's going on. What's the best option for them? And that's something that we're happy to do for our agents is, we're going to research every company that we offer and even some that we don't, and I talk about that too is, part of knowing your product is also knowing your competition's product. And, you've got to know not only what you're selling, but what else is out there in the market as an opportunity for that client. So, the risk assessments, kind of all that pre-sale stuff, obviously we're very involved with. Marketing strategies, though, it's not uncommon too to have an agent reach out and, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm trying to generate some more business. What do you think about this approach? And so, marketing strategies is something our advisors will certainly sit down with an agent, kind of put their heads together. Again, it helps if they kind of know, that business kind of, how large of a scale are we looking at? What's our area? A lot of that comes into play with that. So, plan comparisons, though, again, that's, knowing the products, knowing the competition as well. And so, but, too, through the underwriting process. And that's a place where a lot of agents or business can kind of tend to get kind of bogged down. It's like we've submitted the app and we feel like our portion's kind of done. We've sent it off to the carrier. Well, occasionally we've got some things that we need to work through during that underwriting process, and our agent advisors are very well tuned to do that and to help kind of push that business through. Again, make sure that business is being issued in a timely fashion. And so, and then on the post sale side, I mean, service doesn't stop obviously once we write a policy. Now, I know for the agents in the property and casualty markets, they've got a lot more of that service work than what we typically see in the life and health insurance markets. But again, our work doesn't end once the policy is issued. There's still the client support side of that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, making sure commissions are being paid promptly and correctly, which is not usually an issue, but occasionally that's an area we have to get involved with as well. But again, as an agency, I mean, our main goal here really is just to provide that back office support to help agents run their business more smoothly and more efficiently. The less kind of support work like that our agents have to deal with, we've always seen is that's just more time for them to spend on what they do best, which is that prospecting and selling side of the business. So.
No, yeah, I think that you specifically provide such great support. And that's why I refer a lot of people from the mentorship to you, because a lot of times their biggest fear is, I don't know the product. But you provide a lot of good training, resources, and like a lot of times if I just don't really know the best place to place them, I'll send you the information and you have a quote back, usually pretty instantly, which I'm always, been very impressed on that. And then going into the next question, like, what advice would you give to an independent agent just starting out in the insurance industry? Like day one, getting into it, and they just want to like get some good advice on how to really get started.
Yeah, my first piece of advice to a brand new agent is be patient. Insurance sales is not a get rich quick scheme. Folks getting into it for that reason, if money is your primary driver for why you want to do insurance, you're probably not going to be in that business for very long. I see folks come into the market because they've been sold this, hey, you can make $100,000 in your first year. Yes, you can. Most people won't, and so I think setting realistic expectations for those first couple years, again, being patient. If your goal in this business is to help people and you've got a fairly good work ethic, you'll probably do pretty well. But again, don't expect to come in and be a top producer in your first year. I mean, it does happen. It's not the norm. Most folks, their first couple years are going to be fairly challenging. And, you're going to have certainly, I think most agents are going to experience kind of the highs and lows in that first year. It takes a little bit of time to kind of get a pipeline that is producing enough business to just have that level kind of more consistent style of income. And so, my advice again is to stick it out, grind it out those first couple years, set those realistic expectations. But then once you've kind of started to establish a client base, you start receiving some referrals, the business becomes a whole lot easier and a whole lot more fun. And hopefully you're having fun all along the way. But, too, I would say, and this is kind of tough, but it kind of goes back to the first point I made is don't pay attention to what other agents are posting on social media or you know, a lot of that success and how much money they're making selling X product or Y product. You know, just like anything on social media, we don't know the full story. And typically we're only getting the good side of it. You know, you don't ever hear about the bad stuff through social media. And so you know, I think that again comes back to that realistic expectations. And you know, I don't want to try and dissuade an agent from getting into the business or tell you, hey, your first year is going to be a struggle. You're not going to be making money because I have seen plenty of folks come in and you know, have a very successful first year. I do think that again that goes back to their work ethic, why they got into the business. You know, your why is really big, and but you know, too, I think folks kind of struggle, especially if they're new to kind of being their own boss. You know, that's kind of tough when you're coming from a more regimented 9 to 5 style deal. But you know, my advice would be treat your insurance job just like a 9 to 5. You know, chances are your first year you're probably going to be working more than 9 to 5, you know. So, you know, again, don't come into this business thinking, oh, you know, I'm my own boss. I can work whenever I want, and have that be a crux not to work, you know. So you still got to put in the hours, you know. But I think too is you know setting routines again, kind of you know having a scheduled day and knowing that okay from this hour you know from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm reaching out to folks, you know, I'm making proactive phone calls, whatever it may be, but you know develop a routine that gets you results. And you know one thing I love about this business is when you find something that works, typically you can just replicate that over and over and over, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of the most successful agents in this business are doing the most simple thing. They're just doing it over and over and over consistently, you know. And so, you know, a lot of folks, they don't want to sit down and pound the phones and cold call for an hour or two every day. But if you schedule time in your day to do that, you stick to it, you know, you stay consistent, that's what's going to bring you results. And so, you know, I think too is that we say all the time, another little cliche, you know, in the business is that it's not easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it, right? And so, you know, this business can be very rewarding. I mean, both ethically, financially, but it can be discouraging at times. And so my advice is don't give up when things get tough. You know, keep doing what you know works, keep planting seeds, talking to folks. The more you tell people what you do, the more successful you're going to be. So don't be afraid to approach folks about the products you offer. You know, I tell agents all the time, you know, remember what we do is important. And sometimes it takes agents to kind of be in the business for a little while and see that first death claim or that first homeowner's insurance total loss claim, you know, to really get a sense that what we do is very important and people need the services that we offer. And if we're not approaching them about it, a lot of people, a homeowner and car insurance, a little different, but a lot of people, they may not even know it exists. You know, I hear that about like critical illness insurance is one thing. A lot of times, I think if you start approaching clients about cancer and heart and stroke insurance, what you'll hear from a lot of clients is, I didn't even know this existed, you know, because nobody's ever approached them about it. Long-term care is the same way. Now it's getting a lot more kind of notoriety now, and more people are paying attention to the long-term care market. But still, I think, you know, it's a product line a lot of people don't even know exists because nobody's ever approached them. And I feel like some agents can be kind of afraid, I don't want to pester this person. But you know, when you see those kind of experiences, and if you ever have an experience of, you know, working with somebody trying to place life insurance on them, they don't want to buy it, and then they pass away and they leave their family in a bad financial situation, you know, that should be kind of a wake up call that, you know, a lot of times, and I've seen these kind of scenarios play out, and what I hear a lot is, I don't know if I pushed hard enough with that client. It was like I was afraid I was pushing too hard and then they didn't get the coverage that they needed. And so, again, I think just let people know what you do and let people know that what you can help them with. And ultimately, I mean, that's going to help again build that business and help you be successful.
Yeah, you made a really good point. When you really realize what you're doing and the products that you're selling, it alleviates a lot of the reluctancy we have to reach out to people. Because I always ask, my prospects, if you pass away, like what happens to your family, what happens to your spouse, your kids, what does that look like? And a lot of times you have to put it in like a real life perspective for them to understand. Because I mean, we're selling an intangible product. So, they can't touch it, they're not going to see it, and they're not going to really see the benefit most of the time until they pass away. So
Yeah.
really good point with that. I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
What's one common mistake that you see new independent agents make, and how can they avoid it?
Um, So, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I think a big mistake I see agents make is not sticking with something long enough to measure the results of it. I see agents that will try a lead system, they'll try it for a couple weeks, it doesn't give them the result they thought they were going to get, and they
Right.
stop doing it. And so I think that again, it's not specific to insurance sales. I think most successful salespeople understand that to be successful, the key is consistency. Now, don't get me wrong, you got to have a viable system to begin with. If the system's not viable, you can keep doing it over and over and over, and it's probably not going to work. But, just because you send 1,000 postcards or you post ten social media posts and you only get two responses from it, doesn't mean it doesn't work, and that you should give up. The next 1,000 piece mailer you do, or the next week of social media activity may produce totally different results. So I would say, stick with something long enough that you can truly gauge what is my return on investment. Another thing is, I kind of mentioned earlier is that selling on features over benefits. I've seen a lot of really intelligent people come into this business and fail. And the reason why is that they've kind of, I don't want to say they want to prove how smart they are, but they want to prove to their client that they know every detail of the product. They think that's going to help, that client place more trust in them. What it really has done is confused that client. You've spent 30 minutes talking about all this stuff that really at the end of the day isn't going to matter to that client, and they've gotten confused, they've gotten overwhelmed. Typically folks are going to shut down. If folks are confused, they're just not going to make a decision at all. And so, again, I think a good needs analysis beforehand, so we know, what features of this product are going to benefit this client, right? And that's tough. I mean, certain products, it's fairly difficult to kind of identify, okay, what is that need? Life insurance is a type of product that everybody has a different need. Now, I will say everybody has a need for life insurance, but it's different based on where they're at in life, what their situation is, And so I think, again, we want our presentations to our clients to be benefit focused rather than focused on features. But yeah, I would say, those are my two things is be consistent. Again, you want to know your product, you want to know the competition as well. But we just want to be, kind of judicial in how we're presenting that product to that client and make sure that it is being presented in a way that that client sees the benefit, they can apply that benefit to their life. Just like you were talking about a moment ago is, somebody that they can see a benefit in a product, but unless they actually see how that benefits them, and you can do that both ways. I mean, there's the positive benefit side of it of, if you were to pass away, this is what's going to help your wife stay in the home, your kids stay in the family home. But there's also the negative side of that. Okay, if you were to pass away without insurance, how are they going to pay that mortgage? So you kind of do have both sides of that equation there. And so yeah, those are my two biggest things. So I think it's consistency and then just that, product knowledge, but the right product knowledge.
No, absolutely. And so many people, like you said, want to sound smart and sell these products, but people can't buy from you. They don't even know what you're selling. And that's why I think I've had a lot of successes because I really break it down to like an elementary level language so everyone can understand it. Because yes, I know this, I do insurance every day, but this may be their first conversation ever, about life insurance or health insurance.
That's right. Yeah. And two, it's you'll hear these agents, they get out there and they start talking in acronyms, and it's like, well, we know what those acronyms are, but your client has no idea what that is,
They're
and
just
so
like shaking their head like, yeah, I know what that is. They have no
exactly.
idea.
And I love what you say about that elementary approach. And it's, I had something hanging on my wall, again, kind of cliche, but our business, it loves cliches, right? But it was the old Albert Einstein quote. Many people have seen it, is that if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I just love that quote because ultimately I think that's one of the most important things that we do is we need to take something that is a fairly complicated product and we need to be able to simplify that for a client. That's why they depend on us. Most of our clients, they can go out and they can buy insurance on their own. They don't do that. Why? Because they don't understand it, right? They want somebody to explain that to them, but they don't want you to explain it to them like a lawyer or like it's written in the outline of coverage, right? They want the kind of the Reader's Digest or the Cliff's Notes version of it, right? Tell me what I need to know. What does this benefit for me? And tell it to me in simple terms that I can understand. I've seen again, you see those clients, and when they just start kind of getting overwhelmed with it, it's kind of, you can see those wheels turning in their head, but they're never going to make a decision once you've kind of just product dumped on them, and just dumped all this information in their lap, and they're like, "What do I do with this?" So yeah, I think that's it, is being able to explain it in elementary terms. If a 10-year-old can't understand it, you might want to change your approach to it.
And then two things, exactly, because when I explain it, on the elementary level, then in turn, they're able to explain it to someone else. And I've literally been able to close deals because a client has explained, to her best friend, sister, whoever, this is why you need the life insurance. So now when they call me, they already know what they need, how much they need, and I don't even have to really explain anything to them. So that's a really good reason to go to that elementary level. And then another thing, like you said, like they want the Reader's Digest. And I think that kind of protects us from like artificial intelligence, AI, it's taking over everything. It's going to give it to you very clinical, if you will, but we're able to, break it down and add like a personal touch which really helps with the sales. And then the last question I have for you is, where do you see the future of independent agents in the insurance industry, and what's next for you in your career?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's a question that I get a lot, and I get it mainly from worried agents, right? And they're saying, "Do we have a future?" And yeah, yes, we've seen a lot of technological advancements over the last decade. Our business has gone largely from a paper and pencil business to a computer business. Almost every carrier now across all product lines offer e-apps. There was a time that I said, you'll never write an annuity on an e-app. Well, that's changed. I mean, we have annuity e-apps. So there's always been this worry of, are we going to have a place in this business? And I think overwhelmingly the answer is yes. And the reason and the proof is right in front of us, right? I mean, regardless of how easy companies have made it for consumers to go directly to their website and apply for coverage without an agent in the process, how many comparative systems we have out there, your Select Quotes, your Health Sherpas, those types of platforms. Ultimately, there's always going to be a need for agents. And a good example of that is the health insurance marketplace, the ACA marketplace. Since the introduction of ACA insurance, clients have been able to go to healthcare.gov. They can pick out their plan. They can enroll themselves. They do not need an agent, right? Most clients don't do this though. And why? Because they're afraid that there's too many options. You go on healthcare.gov, you're likely to see about 70 different plan options, different deductibles and co-payments and all this. And so, the general public, they're just afraid they're going to make the wrong decision, right? I mean, and if they even know they can do that, but no matter how many tools are put out there, I mean, the vast majority of folks, they still want an agent to advise them of their options, to tell them what's best, right? They didn't go get licensed for insurance for a reason, probably. And so, they don't know the products the way that we do. And so, again, I think there's always going to be a need there. Life insurance is another good example, though, is that life insurance, and we say in the business all the time, life insurance is not a product that is bought. Life insurance is a product that is sold. Very few people wake up in the morning saying, I got to go buy a life insurance policy today. Now there could be some other external, life trigger that causes them to do that. I'm not saying it never happens, but the vast majority of folks, they're not going to buy a life insurance product unless an agent has pitched them on it, right? So I think that technology will continue to be introduced, and what's been introduced, where our business sits now is awesome. I mean, seeing the way I've kind of see it evolve from when I first got in the business in 2008. And again, we were using paper rate guides even still, and and seeing kind of where it is now is very exciting because it has given our agents the ability not only to be more efficient with their business, but to open up their sales opportunity. There was a time when an agent, their footprint was as far as they were willing to drive, right? And as much gas as they wanted to put in their car, that's how far out their kind of sales territory was going to go. Well, now it's anywhere. I mean, you can sell in California just as easily as you can sell your neighbor down the street, and so I think that it's made the industry as a whole just easier for us agents. And no matter how easy it gets for clients, we're still going to have a place in the business. And so, I'm really excited to see what the future looks like for our business and kind of what AI is going to do to help our business. We're starting to see kind of just some little, scratching of the surface right now. But I think, there is a tremendous potential going forward, again, with just the ease of the business and how much more efficient we're able to be now with the programs and the technology that we have out there. So, I'm very excited about the future of the business and looking forward to what other, technology advances are going to help us and help us make more money and help us help more people, and so, as far as what's next for me in my career, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I love what I do. I continue to, or I plan to continue doing it, for the foreseeable future. I mean, there's a lot of joy in what we do overall. As an agent, being able to help a client, I think, secure their family's financial future, their financial future. I mean, if you don't get joy from doing that, you
Yeah.
probably do the wrong business, right? To me, solving a problem, that was always one of my favorite ones was I've got this issue. This is what I want to get done. This is what I have to do it with. How do I make this, this square go into this hole, and into the circle, and so, solving those problems to me was always one of the most enjoyable parts of the job. And in my position now, I get to see it from both sides, right? I still get to kind of work on that client side of putting together proposals and doing that type of stuff, but I also get to see the agent success. And to me, yeah, again, it's great helping clients out. And to me, helping agents out is just as rewarding. And watching somebody come into the business, they've kind of gone through several, quote, dead end jobs, whatever. They just kind of felt like they weren't getting anywhere in life. and they come into insurance and really find their feet, and get that financial freedom that they've been looking for. Man, it is awesome, and another person I've kind of followed through my career, very, very well-known individual, has recently passed away, or since passed away, I should say, Zig Ziglar. So anybody who knows about Zig Ziglar and some of his teachings, one of his most famous lines was, "I'll have everything in life I want if I can just help enough other people get what they want." And to me, that's so powerful. When I first heard that, it's almost like one of those light bulb moments, was that, yes, if you just help enough people do what they want to do, you're going to have everything you need. And I think that's true for agents, certainly true in my position now. And so I'll just say, what's the future look like? I have no idea, but I'm very happy with what I do. I love this business, and I love being able to work again with both the clients, but then also agents. I think is extremely rewarding.
I love it, y'all. And that is Richard for you. He has helped my business so much. As you see, he is full of knowledge. And if you're in the mentorship program, I connect you directly with Richard. He's such a good resource and tool to use for your business. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for our latest notification. We are dropping a video every week. Again, my name is Kenny J, the insurance guru, and this is Kenny J TV.